Good evening and welcome to Friday Night Blitz on live stream STL. We are live from Festus High School in Festus, Missouri, home to the Festus Tigers. They are going to be taking on the Perryville Pirates. It's do or die time for one of these teams here. They're going to be going on to the quarterfinals here next week.
So this feels like a district championship kind of night.
They're a drastically improved football team. We had a little crossover on opponents, and really more also district play, preparing for a possible opponent. I think we were last year going to play them or Sykeston, and so we had a chance to watch their game there. And when you watch them this year, it's an entirely different football team. They're much bigger, much stronger. Obviously winning 10 games, they're light years more confident now. But it's really remarkable what Coach Roth has done in a year, growing that particular team into what they are today. They'll probably be the biggest team that we've seen, aside from maybe DeSmet. But on the defensive side, size-wise, they're very similar to DeSmet. Is really stunning, and they're also athletic on top of that. So it'll be a huge challenge for us and our kids. And we're going to have to work really hard to have ourselves ready for this game.
Punter back on his own 2. Boots it. High kick, short, taking it 40. Number 12, going to go down the sideline. 15, 10, and welcome to this house. Number 12 right there, David Russell. Right place, right time, and put that 6er on the board. And Lacey down here to the bottom. He'll keep it with Williams. Williams in space, jukes to the corner, and he will tiptoe to touchdown. Been the story of the game. Man in motion, handoff, and Lacey breaks it, and he's going to scamper. 10, 5, and touchdown. Breaks the planes, trains, and automobiles, and that is 6 more for the Tigers. Yeah, and if you're a Festus fan, you're rocking and rolling tonight. 21-0. They get the ball to start the second half. If you would have asked any Tigers fan, hey, we'll spot you 3 touchdowns and the ball start the second half,
right?
You'd be like, where do I sign up?
Exactly.
Man in motion. Smith hands off. Lacey cuts it up, and he's got a cavalcade, and he is going to jog in formation, and that is pay dirt. And how about that? 67 yards. I see no flags on the field. Just inside the 20 for a first down. Smith drops back. He's pressured. Gets rid of it. Yates has open field. He's going to get a first down and more. Yates is going to go to the corner, and that is 6. 6 points. Handoff. Williams. Little juke step right there. And he's going to fight, dive. And look at that, 6 more points. Touchdown. 5, 4, 3, snaps it. He's got a man. He's going to get pressured, breaks through, and he is going to be sacked to end the game. Emphatic exclamation point for the Festus Tigers. They shut out the Pirates 43-0 here to claim the district championship on their home turf. Wow, what a game.
Well, good Monday morning to everybody. Welcome to Upon Further Review. Ray Halbrook with live stream STL here. Hope everybody's having a great Monday here. This is a show where we take care of recapping last week's Friday night's football games. We will take a look at this week's games. We're down to the nitty gritty now, but and then we'll also crown a player of the week, have some honorable mentions, talk about maybe even some bold predictions. And without further ado, I'll bring in our panel here. We've got Matt Bates to my left there. You're right. Jeff Whitener there next to him, and Brian Kappinger on the end there. Guys, hope we're having a good day there. Matthew, how are you doing?
I'm doing better than Seckman and Perryville, I can tell you that.
You are. Jeffrey with the new microphone, sporting the new headset. I love it.
I can hear you guys great, and I hope you can hear me great.
Sounds great, buddy. Hey, Mr. Kappinger, always a pleasure.
Yeah, a joy to be back. Guess I'm doing something right. You keep having me come back.
Well, hey, I mean, you're a likable guy. We got to have you back. So, it is what
we
it
just
is.
need another body.
We do. We need another body. So there it is. Let's take a look at the Week 12 results, and might be a surprise, maybe not a surprise. Don't know here, but you be the judge here. Festus 43-0 over Perryville. Crystal City in a instant classic in overtime. Uh, Beats Charleston 36-34, and Jackson takes care of business down at Seckman there 49-28. And we're going to start with the Perryville Festus game that we were a part of here with Livestream STL. And, we just, from my standpoint here for Festus here, I mean, it was just another day at the office for them. But for Perryville, I think it was a little bit of a litmus test of, might be the unfortunate, unsuccessful day. But I mean, success throughout the year, but playing down kind of has its downfalls, and we saw it in a game like this here. And I'll start with your thoughts here, Matthew.
Well, I don't think I had shutout predicted on this Festus Perryville game, but I do have to say, after the game last week and the display put on afterwards by Coach Afadale with the team, I think you were going to see one of two things. You were going to see the boys that were shell shocked, or the boys that were going to give their best effort and realized that, things could have been a lot worse last week, and that showed. I mean, 43-0 over Perryville. I mean, Perryville, Wheeler. I mean, it was basically defense and special teams. That Festus defense just shut down Wheeler, and gosh darn it, I mean, Perryville, Lucky could make only so many passes that his Pirates receivers couldn't catch. I mean, that was I found that almost more amazing than anything else. That guys that had been automatic all year all of a sudden got the case of the dropsies. You look at David Russell on Festus on the special teams, the punt return TD right off the bat, and he used a number of punt returns to set Festus up with short field positions that led to touchdowns. And leading to those touchdowns, to me, was it looks like the modest day for Mason Shermer, the 4 rushes, 70 yards, typical 13 tackles. But his job that they use him at in the fullback spot, opening the holes for Landon Yates, Essian Smith, Lawante Williams, on down the line. Shermer just seemed to be a force out there that it seems like every snap you have to account for him on both sides of the ball. That, to me, that was the biggest thing and the biggest takeaway for me from that Festus game.
Jeffrey.
Well, I agree 100% with Matt just said, especially with Mason Shermer. What he does away from the ball is critically important to Festus, whether he's around the ball or touches the ball, whether it's on offense or defense. And you go back and you watch the film and you watch how he plays and what teams have to do to try to scheme away from him when he's on defense, because he's such an impact player. I've never seen a football game, and guys, Matt, I'm sure you went back and watched this one, that you might say was over from the opening kickoff. When Perryville flubbed that kickoff, Festus was able to pin them down deep in their territory there. You could just tell a team that was on, one side, Festus on a mission, all about the business, and one team who was not used to being in the postseason and kind of had that deer in the headlights look. And I don't mean to take anything away from the great season Perryville had, but the fact remains they were playing in the Quad City Conference, and they were playing against a lot of Class 2 and Class 3 teams and even some Class 1 teams. And Matt spoke to the fact that Lucky had a hard time with his receivers and Richarde and company catching the ball, getting open. And now you're facing peers. You're facing Class 4 high caliber talent defenders. It's a whole different story. I did not see this game going as a shutout either, as Matt said, but it was to me no surprise that Festus, too many weapons, were able to dominate this one.
Kaplinger, let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what each of you guys said. I mean, I was shocked too that there were no points put up by Perryville. I thought their offense was a little bit stronger, but it just goes to show what Festus is able to do. And again, I think just the variety on offense. I mean, you talk about Trey Lacey having just 3 touches on offense, 116 yards for that. And then on the defensive side, getting the interception. I mean, you just don't know where offense is necessarily going to come from this team in Festus. And I think that's what makes them dangerous. Everybody puts in their work, they put in their effort. And I think it all just came together in that game against Perryville. I'm in 100% agreement. I don't think Perryville really was ready. And maybe it is something that you look at when you schedule next year. Maybe you schedule some bigger opponents to really think about the future if you're planning to get to the postseason and a deep run again, because in my opinion, just rewatching the game, they were overmatched from the beginning. I don't know if the moment was just too big for them. You come into Festus and like you said, Jeff, you mess up the kickoff, you fumble a kickoff later on. I mean, a lot of mental mistakes just says to me, not that these guys didn't put in the work, they were just overmatched from the jump, and Festus never let off the gas pedal.
Well, good evening and welcome to Friday Night Blitz on Livestream STL for Misha TV. Brian Kaplinger alongside Judah Hallbrook here for you tonight at J.J. Cumberfield Stadium in Crystal City, Missouri, where the Crystal City Hornets will be hosting the Charleston Blue Jays in a District 1 semifinal matchup.
You know, we kind of talked about it all week, you know, eliminating the turnovers. We've kind of had some games in the middle of the season that we've had a lot of penalties on ourselves, and just kind of, you know, if we shoot ourselves in the foot, you know, things may not go our way. We're just trying to, you know, play our football, play our style of football. We know that that's a good team coming into town, and we look forward to the battle against them, and hopefully we come out on the right end of the win.
Center in that diamond formation, Frazier in the backfield. He's going to get the ball, has some space, rumbles forward and in for the 4-yard touchdown. And the Blue Jays strike first. This is going to be a deep shot to Evan Wolf. He's going to take it to the house. No flags on the play. And the Hornets with a huge touchdown pass. And so the Blue Jays have been able to move the ball, just haven't had a lot of points to show for it. As like I said, they're in that second quarter. Things started to get away from both teams a little bit. A lot of pre-snap penalties. We saw a lot of laundry on the field on both sides. And so during this halftime, you can imagine both Coach Sims from the Hornets and Hutchings from the Blue Jays are going to be talking about stay disciplined, stay within yourself. This game is definitely not out of reach for either squad. The Hornets need to come out, capitalize on some offensive possessions, get into the end zone, put some more points on the board. And the same goes for the Blue Jays. They're going to take a shot down the field. It is tipped and going to be caught by Lane, and he is going to go into the end zone. A little bit of miscommunication by the DBs from the Hornets. They deflect it, but Lane is right there to catch it on the deflection. Ran the final defender into the end zone. Quick snap to Eisenbeis. He's going to hand it off. This is going to be DeRoos, and he is down the sideline with his speed and into the end zone. And once again, the Hornets strike immediately. We saw this in the first half as the Blue Jays got their first touchdown on the possession, and then the Hornets answered, and right there, the 53-yard touchdown run from DeRoos. Kirby now set, same formation. This time they're going to hand off to Betts. He fumbled it, and the Trent Eisenbeis able to pick it up, and he's going to rumble the 30-plus yards into the end zone for the defensive touchdown. So again, a mishandle between quarterback Kirby and Betts on the jet sweep, The ball on the ground, and Eisenbeis picking it up. Trent Eisenbeis, that is, and taking it to the house. Betts once again comes in motion. They're going to do the same play once again. This time Betts is going to find his way into the end zone. 5-yard touchdown run. And so Eisenbeis under center. He's going to take the snap, hand it off to Pastrana, and he's going to fight his way into the end zone. Touchdown Hornets, as they now have the 34-28 lead. So Eisenbeis has his play as he jogs back in. 18 on the play clock. He's going to let the other lads know. And here we go for the 2-point attempt. Pistol formation, Pastrana behind Eisenbeis. 4 wide receivers split evenly on either side. Looking to throw the ball as Eisenbeis. He's dancing around in the pocket, has a little bit of space. He's going to float one up, and he's going to find Patton in the end zone, wide open for the 2-pointer to give themselves a chance at a 2-point conversion to keep the overtime going. Hornets looking for the stop in the celebration. Kirby looking to throw it. He's going to float one up. He has Betts wide open, and he's into the end zone for a touchdown. And big guys running the fullback position. They're going to hand it off to Henderson. He does not get in. He is stopped at the half-yard line. He does not get in. And so the Crystal City Hornets are going to win the game as they stop the 2-point conversion, as Henderson was hit at the feet, couldn't extend the ball, and he goes down at the half-yard line, and the Hornets are off to the district finals.
Move on here to our next game here. B-Caps game here, the instant classic between Crystal and Charleston, 36-34 in overtime. And I'm going to go ahead and give that to you there to start there, B-Cap.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, instant classic. I mean, this was fun right off the jump. Charleston actually won the toss, deferred. Crystal City turned it over on downs. Charleston went down, scored. But then I think it was like 2 or 3 plays later, Crystal City said, okay, we're going to figure out our offense here. And then they hit just like, it seemed to be like big chunk plays. I mean, DeRusse had a ton of huge plays, 39-yard pass, a 52-yard run. I mean, it just seemed like when they needed a big play between Nolan Eisenbeis and his receivers, they came up with that. I think none bigger than in the second quarter when he hit Wolf for like an 89-yard touchdown pass. I mean, it was insane. But if you go back and you just look at the score sheet, you can see how evenly matched both of these teams were. I mean, it was like a touchdown for each of them. They would miss the extra point. And I think it all culminated right there at the end. They get to overtime, and Crystal City takes the ball first, which surprises me, because in overtime, you always want to play defense first because then you know what you have to do. But they're like, nope, give us the ball. We trust our offense. And so they score, get the 2-point conversion, and you're like, oh my goodness, like, okay, maybe Coach he knows what he's doing. He knows his offense, and they're going to punch it in. And you saw this fight from Crystal City, and then on 4th and 11 in overtime, Charleston just throws up a prayer, and somehow Betts is wide open in the corner. He runs it in, and you're like, we're going to go to double overtime. Just the way this game was going back and forth, you're like, nobody really is going to walk away with this. And then they give it to Henderson, who's their big fullback. I mean, and when I say big, I mean, this is a big young man, and you think for sure he's going to march in. And this Crystal City defense just rallies and stuffs him about a half-yard short, and they just walk off in celebration. And it's, you know, we said it last week, it's like this Cinderella story for Crystal City. They just keep finding a way to stay in the game and making big plays when they need to.
Jeffrey.
Well, I have a little different take on this game, and I watched this game primarily as it was as live as I was doing the scoreboard production. What I saw in this game, obviously, 2 teams very evenly matched, as Kappenliger said. That 4th and 11 call, to have Betts wide open where the quarterback, goes to his right and then throws back across the field to a wide open Betts. That was a genius play call in that situation. So kudos to the Charleston coach. But and watching that game and then going back and reviewing, I thought that this game had plenty of those instances, to borrow Matt Bates' phrase, that where both teams shot themselves in the foot. And I feel like Charleston could have won this game very easily, but if it were for some silly penalties that really kept pushing them back, especially on offense, a lot of turnovers, a lot of mistakes. I don't know if that's primarily the cause because it's a Class 1 matchup where you've got teams who are tired, who are playing both ways, so there tends to be more mistakes in that game. But it really was a mistake riddled game, in my opinion, on both teams. And Crystal City, I feel, was pretty lucky to come out of that one with the win, and they showed some incredible resilience. Don't get me wrong, but Charleston could have very easily won that game. The question I have, real quick, for Brian Kaplinger here in this situation is, Cap, you've covered Eureka primarily most of the season, some of the big Class 5, Class 6 matchups. Now going over to Crystal City, two Class 1 teams, small town, rural football, historic J.J. Comerford Stadium. What were your takeaways from that small school experience, Cap?
Well, I think you said it. It's just you can't undersell even small rural football. There's just such an excitement when you can see a city, even if it's small in that capacity, show up. And I got to give a lot of credit to Charleston. Their fan base showed up for them as well. And it's just fun to watch. I mean, sure, you talk about, obviously there are going to be mistakes, but there's something to be said just about the heart of these young athletes and their willingness to play both sides of the ball. I mean, by the end of the game, you can see they're exhausted. I mean, even at halftime, they're laying down at the end zones, just waiting for the second half. I mean, they're looking for any life. And then you talk about, I mean, both teams, 38, almost 40 points a game. So, I mean, they're constantly moving and running. And as much as I love big boy football and I love Eureka and the programs that are going on in the Rockwood district, I mean, it's just fun, especially when you get down in the pit down there, you see the train tracks, you see the city rally together, the fire department comes out, throws the big flag up. I mean, it's just football at its core, and that's what makes it fun.
Well,
Absolutely.
since Mr. Jeff has kind of taken everything off my bingo card to ask Kaplinger, because I had the same question as well, too. I've got Charleston fumbling before halftime at the Crystal City 6. I like in the third quarter, both teams tried to give each other short fields to work with, and they darn well did. I like how Crystal City came back with the punch, the answer by DeRoos after Charleston had gone down on the quick score. It seemed like they wanted to start that second half off with both teams just returning favor on onside kicks. I like the job by Eisenbeis. I mean, again, you look at, another modest day, 5 of 9, but 144, just, averaging almost 30 yards a shot with the 2 TDs. I did have a concern that, there was no Riley Hendrickson available for the game. Now, I know there was this mystery number 57 player, and for the life of me, I tried backing into it because I was sure that the information that either Kaplinger had, because I had been sending, the Crystal City roster, let's face it, I mean, it's like the size of a napkin. There's like 10 people that you can put on it. So it's not like you're going to be hiding anybody anywhere. Because then I looked at the stats that were made available, and Crystal City had 3 fumble recoveries, 2 of them by the Eisenbeises, and then another one by Fowler. And I'm like, it can't be him because he wears number 20, and I saw him on the sideline. So I don't know if they just didn't report his stats at all, or if this was maybe Parham who wore 58 switching jerseys. Because first of all, if it was Riley Hendrickson, because this guy was playing middle linebacker as well too, then floated to defensive end, that Hendrickson's like 6'3". So this other kid wearing 57 was 5'7", literally almost like his jersey number, but played his butt off.
Right.
But I know on a team like that where, you know what, I mean, if you got a lineman that goes down, you know, you're going to have guys that play safety. They're going to have to step in because that's how limited your roster is. So, like you guys, I was trying to figure out who that was too, having seen Crystal a couple times, that I'm like, this just wasn't making sense. But hey, you know what? That's been their mentality all year. Live, fight another day. And what we want is the biggest of the bigs. And talking to Rico Pastrana the other day, he was like, you know, we don't care who we play. We just want to see how battle tested we can be for St. Vincent. We didn't want to see him in the first round because we wanted some playoff games under our belt. And I'm telling you right now, if you got some arrows left in your quiver, they're going to use them all for this St. Vincent game, and that's going to be a doozy.
Yeah, you know, when last year when the clock hit 0 on our Jackson game, you know, we've been working towards this moment, this game, and you know, we've set a lot of you know, building blocks up, you know, mentally, talking to our guys about this game for the last 8 months, and how we have to be mentally tough and ready to play 4 quarters. You know, in all reality, we've been down on the clock for 0 minutes this entire season. So, you know, we've never had to battle from behind. And, you know, that was adversity that we hadn't faced last year either. So, you know, we've been working on we've been having a lot of conversations. We've been doing a lot of drills at practice to really create that adversity on the field. And, yeah, you know, Jackson, very common opponent. They've taken us out last 3 or 5 years. And it's just making sure our guys know we're always in the game.
Ambrose, 2 offset from him. One of them's Lappy. Calls it, keeps it. No signal yet. Now it is. Give him 6. Brady Ambrose. That'll be number 11. That'll be Shamel. Ethan Shamel checking in, but ball resides at the 1-yard line, driven back. In he goes. They're going to give it to Hampton. Hampton goes in, thought he had been stopped, but was able to pull forward. And a 35-14 lead for Jackson right now. Here's Parson, goes over the middle, and that is a touchdown for Jackson. That's Grant Brown. Don't want to break up their vibe by having plays go longer than what they need to. Here's a pass out in the flat to Crow. He's just going to bang right over the 40, 35-30, 25-20, 15-10. Give him 6. Another touchdown pass from Crow. So 1st and 10 from the 30-yard line. There's Kuby. It's going to be Ambrose taking it. Direct snap. He's over the 40, 45, 50. He could go all the way. Being hounded, chased. Touchdown, 70-yard TD run by Ambrose. Snap to him. He's going to just dunk it over. Has Perry. Touchdown, Suckman on a 1-yard TD pass. But final score tonight, that is Jackson Indians 49, Seckman Jaguars 28.
Let's get over to our final game here. Jackson 49, Seckman 28. I know, Matthew, you had that game there. We'll just turn it over to you.
Well, this was, and we had talked about it last week, about the whole, you know, does Seckman have Jackson in their head? Can they get out? And literally that's the way it turned out right off the hop. Drew Parsons, you know, Seckman gives Jackson the ball at the 30-yard line. First play, they put 3 backs in the backfield with Parsons. He takes the snap, goes around the right end. First play, 70-yard touchdown. Not even, you know, 10 seconds into the game, Jackson's already up 7-0. And the junior quarterback, you know, then continues his day. 5 passing TDs to go along with the rushing touchdown. Kai Crow, if you saw our game last year with him, the kid's just a kicking and scoring machine. He had 19 collective points, 2 TDs and 7 PATs. Seckman, God love them, they just couldn't get out of their own way. This seemed like as soon as they got punched in the mouth by Jackson right off the bat, they were just like, here we go again. And then it turned into, I think during the broadcast, I'd called it like week one shenanigans, where you had, there was like 3 false start penalties in a row. There was offsides going on. And this just looked like a Seckman team that was just out of sync. Yes, Ambrose had the 28 carries, the 260 on the ground, but that just seemed to be the only thing that they could do, was just getting modest yards out of Ambrose. But I mean, they just had no response for this Jackson team that, once again, that we thought were going to probably play CBC, but the Kirkwood Pioneers went in and did a number on them. Right. So that's going to be a battle for the ages as well too. But once again, Jackson just imposed their will on Seckman. And I think that goes back to the point we were talking about with the Festus Perryville game, that Perryville didn't have anybody battle tested. Seckman, again, and I think I said it for about 6 weeks in a row, Seckman hasn't beaten anybody that had over a 500 record on their schedule. And all of a sudden, even, you know, yes, they played Oakville last week. That was tough, but not as tough as the big boy football that was presented to them when Jackson faced them and just, you know, landed one in them inside their own house at the Jaguar Den. I think I was just as shocked maybe by the score and how bad Seckman looked. And I think that just goes back to not being battle tested.
Yeah. Jeffrey.
Well, you know, Matt, and going back and watching that game, and by the way, great job over there at Seckman. There were some parallels between that game and the Perrywell Festus game. Jackson comes right out of the gate, scores that touchdown, and all of a sudden Seckman's they're on their back foot the entire rest of the game. And my only thought on that, you know, just to follow up on everything, and I agree with everything that Matt said there. Matt, the young man Crow, the receiver, he's one of the best receivers I've seen in this part of the state in a while. Can you talk about him a little bit and what he brings to the table for the Indians?
He brings a dynamic approach in that you can use him, as you saw him in the backfield as well too. He's a very multi-dimensional piece that Coach Nesbitt can use. That, yes, you can line him up at wide receiver. He's got the speed and skill set that if you want to put your track guy, your safety guy on him, he's got the speed to blow by him, but he's also got the capacity. He can drop back in that run formation as well too. And if you give him the ball, he can pull a Mason Shermer, he can pull an Isaac Walker, and he can plow and knock right over you like the best of them. But when you also can turn around and you got a kid that, oh, by the way, can kick your extra points, can kick field goals, and then he bombs every kickoff through the back of the end zone. When you can limit the return yardage on special teams as well too, it's something to be said. I know we look at what Ringy does up at Eureka, where, you know, he's the tight end, can kick the extra points. But this is a kid that, I mean, every play brings the speed, brings the just everything. Again, he's a multi-dimensional piece that, if you just want to strictly account for him, you're kind of like Festus. You can't key on one guy, because if you want to just say, okay, if we stop Kai Crow, we stop the offense. No. And that's he's just a killer piece.
BCAP, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think of is I go back and kind of, when I look at Crow, I also compare him to Preckle at Lafayette. And that young man in the receiving side, when I watch clips, like both of them just have tremendous body control. They know where they're at. They use their speed well, and they catch with their hands. They never let the ball come to their body. They're always ready. And that just stood out to me when I went back and reviewed that. And then also, I think it's already been said, but it just looked like Jackson came in with the swagger that they needed. They knew what they wanted to do, and they knew they were in the heads of Seckman. And I hate to say that, but again, Matt, it goes back to your point. They're just not tested enough for some of these teams that you're going to face. And that's why I love what Coach Saharsky at Hillsborough does each and every year with his program, is they go out and they face some of these big time top tier schools, and they say, hey, maybe we'll be in this game. Maybe we get taken care of pretty quickly, but we can gauge where we're at. We know what big boy football looks like. So when it comes time for playoffs, it's not a total surprise. It doesn't take our players out of the picture. And I think here's the deal. I don't want to just like poo-poo all over Seckman here. They've got a really good team. They've got a really good athletes and players. And I think they had something special going. I think, again, they just let Jackson get in their head, and then the mental mistakes started to happen. And once that happened, it was just over. You're not going to come back on a team like Jackson when you give them better field position than you get.
Jeff, Ray, I got a question for the two of you guys, and just to spitball this. So, Caps, to your point about Hillsborough and their non-conference schedule. Again, as I had said, Hillsborough had a very tough non-conference schedule. I mean, when you got your SLU, your MICDSs, one of their losses was the Festus as well too, and you got Poplar Bluff on there. It looked like their gas tank was dipped into when the playoffs came around because they were, I almost want to say, too battle tested.
Right.
But do you think if Seckman can get, do you think it's because Seckman wants to just maybe dominate the regular season, let the postseason take care of itself? I'm trying to figure out, like, because the last 2 years in the regular season, they've got what, one regulation loss maybe, or they've gone undefeated both years, to where are they scared that a regular season loss is going to do something in their standing position? Because it to me, it just seems like they're going to be fighting Jackson for one or two in that seed spot. So I'm just trying to understand the math maybe behind it, where, hey, we don't want to schedule any tougher competition because we don't want that to affect our seeding, where if we just, clean the slate, we got a better shot at hosting at our stadium. Jeff, Ray, I'd like to get your thoughts on that, at least first of all on that.
Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Well, Matt, yeah, a couple of thoughts, Matt. You opened up some things here for me. Seckman has found success the last 6, 7, 8 years running that single wing offense. They've had some incredible athletes at the quarterback position that could make that offense happen. The coaching staff realized what they had. They put the talent in the best position to succeed. The only problem with that is it's made them fairly one-dimensional on offense. And you see a team, when they go up against a team is multi-dimensional, like a Jackson, some of these other schools that, they're equally adept in passing as they are in running. And it makes it, in my opinion, if you have the athletes, much easier to scheme against on defense. Now, I don't know that, that Seckman, obviously they're working towards their skill set and what they have, putting their players in the best position to win. But once we get to the postseason, you're facing a whole different animal, and you're usually facing multi-dimensional teams, and I think that hurts them. And Matt has pounded this fact all season long about special teams. And once soccer season was over, they were able to have a decent kicker there at Seckman. But man, when you get to this level, special teams make a huge difference once you get this deep in the playoffs. And we've seen it in all 3 games where special teams hurt or help the teams.
Yeah. My take on it, just, I talked to, Coach Bear quite a bit throughout the season, and I don't feel like I've gotten any kind of indication that, hey, we're just playing for the regular season. They definitely want to make a dent in it. I think if anything, they would love to see reformation of the districts, but it's hard to do that when there's only so many Class 6 teams, So and there's predominantly, I think, if I looked at it right, there's more Class 6 teams on this side of the state than there are on the Kansas City side. So, we're taking a look at that. It's just like you are what you've been given, what you're dealt. And, unless they can figure out a way to go into that week with a Jackson or someone similar to Jackson, it's definitely going to take a ton of research, a ton of video, a ton of just maybe even just a whole new scheme going into that particular week, but practicing that throughout the season and using that to their advantage when it comes time to play in the playoffs. But, right now, Jackson's got their number. That's all there is to it right now. They've got their number. And I think Coach Bear's done a great job of recognizing that and saying, yeah, right now I don't have it quite figured out yet, but we're going to get there and eventually get over the hump here with the Jackson Indians. So that's our thoughts. It's time for our Upon Further Review Player of the Week. And this week it is Mason Shermer from the Festus Tigers. Mason, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. Let me rattle off. Now, normally we give heads up and kudos to basically a lot of the offensive stuff, but we're going to go this week with the details because you were extremely detail oriented this week with your win over Perryville. We have you down for 13 total tackles on defense. We have you 2 quarterback pressures on defense. On the offensive side, you're still not a bad day at the office, 4 rushes for 70 yards. But here's the big thing to me, the 3 key blocks that led to touchdowns. Those are the details that people, sometimes they just kind of, pass up, but, wanted to give you those kudos and, tell us a little bit about the game, Friday night, your big win over Perryville.
Going into it, we didn't know much about them. Obviously we only had, I think, 1 or 2 opponents that we played that they played. They played Hillsborough and then they played DeSoto, then Hillsborough in the playoffs. They beat Hillsborough and we're like, all right, well, Hillsborough's a different animal without Preston. So we didn't know what to expect from them. They were pretty big. So we thought, okay, they're going to give us a fight. And, after we returned the punt for a touchdown, I feel like they just were like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I got it. Well, 43-0, kind of a little bit of a stomping, a little bit of shell shock because they had a great season here. I mean, 10-2, 11-2 or something like that. And great turnaround because they've had some kind of rough goes the last few years. But I want to talk a little bit about we talked about the details, but I want to talk about special teams and I want to talk about defense for the Festus Tigers because I think that is what sets you guys up for the great offense to just be successful. Tell us a little bit about that.
Obviously, we started off with kickoff, and then our kickoff team, we always say we need to fly down there and just make stuff happen. Swarm the ball, hit the guy, or hit. If someone's trying to block you, hit them into them. Like just get the guy down and just hustle. And then we hop on to defense, and really our defense all year has been pretty much lights out. And there's been times, where we lay an egg. Like the Jackson game, we laid an egg. We just really weren't, I guess, in the mental state to play. We had a bunch of stuff happen during the week, but and then even the Smet game, we were 7-0 at half, and then came out, 7-7. They scored 14-7. It was 13-7. We were head to head with one of the best teams in the state. But defense, after that Jackson game, we came together as a whole, and we were like, look, that can't happen in the playoffs. Like, we got to stay true to our assignments and, we got to lock in every week.
Absolutely. Well, Gateway's on the ticket this Saturday for you guys. And what have you guys had a chance to maybe even take a look at anything, or has Coach talked to you about what to expect with Gateway?
Just another tough opponent. We haven't played anyone they've played. We see film on them. We have everything. Everyone watches film. But really, if we're playing our best game, we should win. I feel like anyone we play against, it's going to be a shootout if everyone's on their game.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on Player of the Week this week, and kudos to your detailed-oriented performances this week as well. And we'll get them this Saturday, and hope to see you next week as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, that's our Player of the Week there, Mason Shermer from the Festus Tigers. It is time for our honorable mention segment, and they are as follows this week. From Crystal City, Landon DeRoos, 8 rushes, 53 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 receptions, 54 yards, a touchdown, and 9 tackles. pretty good day at the house there for Landon DeRoos. Seckman's Brady Ambrose, 28 rushes, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns. And we're going to give an overall honorable mention to the Festus special teams group there. They had a punt return touchdown, 2 fumble recoveries. They had a ton of things going on there for the Festus special teams. So, guys, pretty good week there for honorable mentions. And Matt, your thoughts on a couple of those?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think there's really a wrong answer on those. I mean, you see, Ambrose on there in a losing effort, which, hey, again, he was serviceable, did what he could do with the 2 TDs, but I like having the Festus Collective special teams on there because, it also takes kicker recognition, like a guy like Luke Wacker that, he wasn't bombing them through the end zone. He was dropping those in and once Perryville got the yips on those 2 possessions, again, you see how special teams can set you up with short fields to where, again, at the end of the day, you might have an offense that might not even rush for 200 yards. But when you got 4 touchdowns inside the 30, I think I'd rather take that than trying to see us have like a 400-yard day rushing and, and we collectively only wind up with 7 points or no points. I'll take the points in the short fields any day of the week. And Landon DeRoos up there, I mean, I think anybody that had a Crystal City jersey on, you could put up there. And maybe I would even say put a collective Crystal City team up there as well, too, because it took everybody in the pads and the helmets to pull these victories out for everybody.
Kaplinger.
Yeah, again, nothing wrong with any of those. I enjoyed watching Ambrose in the losing effort. Matt, you alluded to that. I mean, I think it's something special when you can put up that kind of yardage, even in a losing effort in that regard. It just shows your character, always fighting, going through. The Festus special teams, I love having them there again for all the same reasons. If you can turn a game with your special teams, man, that says something about the coaching. It says something about your players, the culture that is being built right there. And so that's something special that's happening. And for me, being at Crystal City, that was the first time. I think I told you, Ray, when you showed up halfway through. It was just fun to be there. That was the first time I've ever been to Crystal City, been down there to Cumberford Stadium, all of that, and just to be in that environment, it was fun. And the thing that stood out to me about DeRoos was just his ability to make big plays. Like even in Class 1, there are kids that just have that clutch gene. It's something you can't teach. It's something you can't train in somebody. And just when it seemed like when Crystal City needed that big shot in the arm, this young man stepped up, made a play for his team. He utilized his speed. He utilized just his wits about him, his football IQ, if you will, to just find that spot. And again, the whole team, I mean, what they've gone through all season, not knowing if they were going to even be able to come out each week and play, says a lot about that team. So again, I'd say, yeah, put the whole Crystal City team up there and just say, hey, guess what, guys? If it were me, I know it's not me. You get the whole player of the game. It's just one team.
Jeffrey.
And I'm going to piggyback on Tiff. I'm going to throw some more honorable mentions here, and that's the coaches and the coaching staffs of these teams this year. Nick Bear at Seckman, another incredible job working with what he had, with the schedule he had, playing the cards he's dealt, so to speak, and coming up with another dominating season for Seckman. Really showing a track record now of domination here in this area. And so kudos to him. Crystal City comes out of the gate there at 1-3 on the season under a new coach, and just the tremendous job they did over there to sort of right that ship, get everybody in place. And we talked about it early the season. We're always worried, are they going to have enough players to make it through the season? And they passed in flying colors. And kudos to everybody involved in that Hornet program for making it the success that it has been so far. Obviously, they're not done yet. Coach O'Fadelaide, the last few seasons, the knock on Festus has been they're always playing from behind. They come out, they give up several scores early. They have to make adjustments at halftime and come back they're in a totally different place now. Coach O's been there long enough now to really implement a lot of his programs and strategies, from the weight room to junior programs, middle school on up. And now it's starting to bear fruit for the Tigers. And we could be looking at sort of a long run of domination here in Class 4 for Festus, the way things are set up right now, guys.
And we are back for our Week 13 schedule, and it is as follows. Only 2 games left here. Crystal City will be at St. Vincent for the this will be the Class 1 District 1 championship. I believe that's correct. 1 or 2. And then Festus is at Gateway. This will be a quarterfinal game here for Class 4. So let's dive into this a little bit here, guys. And we're going to start with let's start with Kaplinger. I'll start at the end there.
Oh, wow. All right. Throw me out there first. I like it. Yeah, I mean, looking at both of these games, for me, I think St. Vincent has the upper hand in the Crystal City matchup. But I don't want to count out Crystal City. I mean, if I'm honest, I didn't really give them much of a shot against Charleston. It looked like Charleston was going to have more speed and just be able to make some plays, and they hung in there. And so, I don't want to undersell what's happening at Crystal City because it's something special. But this St. Vincent team, I mean, they've been legit all year. And they've got a lot of talented players, even though, again, you're talking about, just having clean football. I think if Crystal City is going to be in this game, they're going to definitely have to clean up the mistakes from the previous game. And it's going to have to be Nolan Eisenbeis making sure, again, he's efficient. It's not about the amount of attempts he has throwing the ball. It's making the completions and getting the yardage there. And that's really going to be the difference, because I think St. Vincent's going to come in. They're going to say, we're not going to let you run the ball. And so there's going to have to be some timely throws from Eisenbeis to make sure that they stay there. And then their defense, again, is just going to have to step up. I think turnovers, especially at this level, are the biggest thing. And it goes back to what Matt says all the time. If your special teams can be the difference in the game, it can change anything. I don't care how far of an underdog you may see yourself. If special teams turns it, man, you can make a lot of headway just by getting onside kicks, forcing fumbles, all those fun things. And so I'm looking at that. And again, Festus right now, this is going to be a tough matchup for him, but I think the way that Coach Fadele and this team is rolling, I'm not going to count them out. I think for me, I know on paper it's probably not the smart pick, but I'd give them the edge here. And if they can continue to just kind of mix it up, because again, you never know who's really going to be the star player. There are a couple players that stand out, like Shermer, like those guys that just do what they're supposed to do, but they play such a well-teamed game. I don't want to count them out.
All right, Matthew.
Well, I piggyback on Kaplinger's thoughts as well too. That I don't know how many people had Crystal City on their bingo card in the final 2, but because I think you could safely say everybody probably would have had Festus on their card. I don't think many people would have seen Eureka and Seckman being booted out as early as they did. But the thing about Crystal City is basically all year they've kind of been like, kind of like bypassed, as in like, hey, at least they're here, they're relevant. And all year, all they've done is just showing that they've got the fight, the resiliency, and they're, determined to be one of the last men standing. And by golly, they are. That you look now, like week 13, here they are in the game that they wanted. And you look at a team, again, decimated roster of like 15 kids, and week after week, they still come out smiling, just glad to have another week to play. So, you know what, when you've been underrated, not looked at, where, 3 of their losses, I think, have been by 1 score or less, they're virtually in every ball game. And I think they're going to give St. Vincent everything and then some. I look at the Festus Gateway game, and once again, if you do a dive into Gateway's schedule, they're another team that this is going to be kind of like that Jackson-Seckman game, where I think this is going to be the biggest punch Gateway's going to see. That, yeah, I think their record's kind of smoke and mirrors, but when you look at who they've played, how they've beaten them, and what their records are, I mean, you can go up and down, beat all the 1-8, 2-9 teams you want to, but I don't think you can prepare for this Festus team if you haven't seen them up close and personal. So, you know what? I want to see what comes up from Crystal City. I mean, kudos to them. Great season. They got the game they wanted. So I think they just, can put a nice bow and wrap this thing up on an excellent season. Festus, I think the train's just going to keep on rolling.
Jeffrey.
Well, gentlemen, we're down to 2 teams here in Survivor Jefferson County. Outlast, outwit, outplay, right? And 2 teams left on the island, so to speak. Crystal City, an incredible season. They have all reason to be proud of this program, proud of the job that they've done this year. Guys that just truly love to play the game. Hate to use this overused phrase, but there's some dogs on that team. There are some dogs there. They're going to go to St. Vincent, a team that's on a mission. They got stung by Marionville last year in the semifinals. They want to go to state this year. And I truly believe they have the lineup that can win Class 1 at this level. But I think Crystal City's going to give, like Matt said, all they've got and then some. And it's going to be a better game than most maybe would anticipate. Festus, they just have too many weapons, guys. They have too many weapons on offense to scheme against for Gateway. As Matt said, Gateway has not played the schedule. I look for the Festus train to keep on rolling, and I'm pretty sure Festus will make it to the next round, which would be either Warrenton. I can't believe, or I forgot what the other team
West
was
Plains.
there. Or West Plains. Yes, the fabled West Plains Zizzers, one of my favorite nicknames in schools there. But I think you could see a Festus Warrenton matchup in the next round there.
Excellent. Well, guys, this wraps up. We are pretty sure this is going to wrap up our final episode here of Upon Further Review. And, just take a second to think, if you can think about, think people and whatnot, and give you a quick second here. We'll start with Caps.
Yeah, new guy on the block here. I mean, one, I want to say thanks for bringing me in on this, guys. It's been a blast. I've loved every minute of it. And then from the football side, I want to just shout out Coach Sumner, the whole Eureka team out there. I mean, they put up with me all season, let me down on the field, was very gracious to all my crazy questions and trying to pick their brain and see what they wanted to do. It was a blast. And then just being around all the coaches, and I can't name them all, but just even on our Friday Night Blitz program, having them call in and hearing them in their heart. One of the ones that stood out to me this year was Coach Gerling for Northwest. I mean, just being able to get to know these men and then what they're instilling into these athletes. And then you flip that around, just the fun of being able to go up and kind of joke and just kind of tease some of the players on the field when you're down there with them. These guys are tremendous athletes. And I think sometimes we forget, not only are they doing what they need to do on the football field, but they're doing it in the classroom, and they're still dealing with life in general. And so these are some amazing athletes that we've seen across the board. And it's just been a privilege to kind of just cover them, highlight them. And so just a big shout out to the Rockwood District, Jefferson County, all the schools and conferences in there. You guys are doing it right. Keep working hard and put up some good football for us.
Jeffrey.
Well, in addition to all the coaches, as Cap talked about there, I want to give a shout out to 2 other groups. There's always at each school there's a core of parents that are not only supporters of the football program, but also supporters of Livestream STL, the UFR show, the post-game show. Very faithful listeners, followers, viewers. But they also help us in contact information and getting stats to us and making sure that there's a connection there with the schools. And you all know who you are. We have them in every single school, whether it's man or woman, and we really appreciate what they do. I want to give a shout out to the rest of the live stream crew, whether Garner, all of our wonderful camera people that we've had this year. And I know I'm going to be missing some of our play-by-play people, but we've had some great camera work. Absolutely. Ray's son Jude has done a tremendous job helping produce and run cameras. It takes a huge village to be able to cover the football season the way we did. This has been our biggest, most expansive year ever for coverage. It's a long haul. It's a lot of hours that people don't realize that we put in, all of us, on our own time, but we do it because we love it. So I know those watching, they do it for the same reasons. They do it because they love it as well. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Matthew.
Yeah, I mean the collective on down the line. You know, you start with the ads that allow us into their house, the coaches that allow us the access, the players. I agree with Caps when you're down there on the field, as long and just as long as you're not like shoving a microphone in their face, they know that it's just, you know, it's friendly chit chat, and you know it's almost kind of like, oh hey, by the way, you know, you're going to be on TV as well too, and they're like, oh okay, and
Right.
you know they give you all of that, and but again, and we go down, you know, the parents. I know Brett Tebow is he watches us religiously, loves the fact that we showcase his kid, and you know, you look at the Martins out there at Grandview, Tucker Reinhardt's parents. I mean, when you know you got parents that are coming up to you, you know, they're thanking you for what you do. They appreciate the effort that you're putting in. That means a lot, you know, because I know all of us up and down, we don't do this because we're wanting pats on the back every week, but it makes, you know, the hours that I've poured in going over stats so I don't look like a dope when we open up the microphone, that, you know, these kids are getting the credit and coverage that they deserve. I don't know if some of that has to just do with, you know, the 5 decades behind the microphone that I've been blessed with, but it's just, you know, I appreciate the opportunities that we've been given as well too. And you see the avenues that Ray's had open. And again, as Steve Warner saying, all roads lead to you, and they do, Mr. Ray. So, you know, thank you for, you know, putting together the product that you've been able to put together. And, you know, I guess just glad to be a part of the ride. So thank you, sir. Caps, great job. You know, you shining through like you've done. And, Jeff, as always, thank you for the help back there at the house to keep us updated on scores and scripts and whatnot. And, you know, to everybody else, you know, Beeks with what he's done. Yeah. Love you guys. And hopefully we can keep this train rolling. So again, I think of another season in the books, but a lot of love to pass on, guys.
Absolutely. I mean, this particular season, I think, has been our biggest growth. You know, one week wasn't too long ago. We did 5 games in 3 days, and we would have never been able to do that last year. So growth is definitely on the horizon, and you know, it's humbling. It really is. It's a humbling situation to be in when we feel like we can put out just a way better product than most in most areas, and you know, we're just blessed to be able to do it. So thanks to the parents, especially parents. It takes you guys to get the word out, you know, not just the ADs, not just the administration, not just the schools. It takes the parents, and one share is all we ask for, you know, most of the time here. So it's a you know, again, it's a humbling situation to be in, but we plan on expanding. Football is definitely king here in Missouri, so we're already looking to expand into some bigger and better roles, hopefully next season, and we'll be a bigger, better product. So we appreciate that. But thanks again to coaches, to the players that give us their time to do interviews and things like that too. But you know, we thank the ADs, we thank the administration for allowing us and trusting us to be in there, because you can't just do that with just anybody. And we have built a ton of trust, 7 years of trust with all these schools, and you know, they know us by name, most of us. So that's always a good situation to be in. So thank you guys for being a part of the show, and you know, Jeff especially on doing a lot of the behind the scenes work, doing, you know, helping us get rosters. That's what seems like that's one of the hardest things for us to do before a game, you know, the week of a game, things like that. But you know, it's just been a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. So That wraps things up here for Upon Further Review for 2024. Thank you again for being a part of this. Feel free to go back on our website and on Roku, our Roku app, Livestream STL, to review all of these, and because we've got these in instant replay. So check those out on those particular places, livestreamstl.tv on the website and the app on Roku, Livestream STL. Thank you again for all of us here at Livestream STL. Matt Bates, Jeff Whitener, Brian Kaplinger. I'm Ray Halbrook. Have a great night. Thanks for watching today's broadcast. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without the express written consent of Livestream STL is strictly prohibited.